Hello. Let me know if you guys can hear me. As I am setting up, I don't think I'm on mute this time, like last time we streamed. And I accidentally had myself on mute for like 5 minutes or something. You can hear me? Okay, great. Hello everyone. Hello to Lorenzo and Goofus and me and my guester and Hellbore. Hey Sleepy. And I saw Hijab Dabi. Hello, hello. You can all hear me? Okay, great. Hello Tuesday's Art. So, today we are doing another art live stream. I had the last part to the High Guardian Spice review series yesterday that went live. And I am going to be releasing a supercut of all the parts into one large video, I think after the weekend. Because it's not that much editing. I basically just have to trim out the credit sequence. And I put out a poll asking whether to include the previously on segments. And most people said they would like to keep them. However, I find that it kind of breaks the flow of those videos. So I might actually just cut them, even though I know lots of people said they would like to keep them. But it just kind of doesn't work for how the videos are set up. So anyway, that's happening. And I was thinking that today we might actually finally draw Sage, because I keep avoiding her because I don't like her character. But I was thinking of drawing her with like a really sinister expression. Like, because I'm still of the opinion that if she was supposed to be like a slow build-up villain, that would have been really cool and she would have been like a really interesting character. So I thought if we can draw her like looking kind of not scary, but like as if she is going to be the video. Hey Hunter. Hey, excuse me, I might mispronounce your name. Onjage. So hello to you. Let me know if I said that right. And hello to Diamond. How am I today? I'm doing okay. We've been having like gale force winds for the past 2 days, and it's finally calmed down, but my sinuses are not happy with me right now. Draw her with beta clothes. Maybe she kind of has like puffy clothes. You know what, I might actually do that. That's a good idea, because her outfit that she wears in the show itself is so uninteresting. Like, she has such a bland outfit design. It's so boring. Let me see if I actually have a good one that I can just grab, like for reference. Okay, close this. Because I figured, because I'm still doing the supercut, I haven't gotten rid of any of the material yet, what I used in previous videos, because I figured, you know how it is, you delete something and then you immediately need it right after you've deleted it. Where is the concept art? I know you guys can't see anything yet. I'll switch over to Clip Studio Paint in a second. I just want to grab the reference. Okay, well there is her proper concept art. I'll open that one so long. Let me switch you over actually, then you guys can see Clip Studio Paint. So we need, this goes away and this goes up. There we go. Did I see your Twitter message? No, sorry Lorenzo, I'm not on Twitter that much. I tend to kind of just hang out on Tumblr because I don't like the way Twitter functions, and it's not for any big, well, there are lots of big reasons. But one thing that really bothers me about Twitter is that I can only retweet something once, opposed to Tumblr, where you can reblog things as many times as you want. And me, who likes, when I remember something and I'm like, oh, I really want to show that to people, even though I've already shown it to people, I don't like only being able to retweet something once. It really bothers me. And I also don't really like how the algorithm works there. It's really annoying. So, long story short, no, I didn't see your message because I'm not on Twitter that much. I'm imagining her in her villain form, and the rot sort of becomes part of her. That could be really cool. I'm terrible with character design though. Well, I say that I am very unpracticed with character design, because I've always had in my head that it's something I'm just not good at immediately. And because I'm not good at it immediately, I have this idea of like, well, I guess I just suck at it, and then I don't work. Here's her beta design. And then I don't work at improving, because I just feel like, okay, well, I suck at it, and I'm not amazing right at the start, so I don't want to work to get good. And that's like a gifted child thing. I think lots of people have that, where when you grow up in high school and there's like the one thing that you're really good at, and then everybody praises you for being good at that one thing, and then you kind of don't really look into other skills and stuff such that you're not immediately good at, because you have this mentality of, if you're not good at something, then you won't get that validation. And it's a whole thing. The rot just further corrupts Sage with her already slowly building evil intentions. Yeah, see, that's such a good idea. They really could have done that. There's so much they could have done with this show, and they just didn't. Imagine her getting called out for being controlling, and she gets booted from the friend group. Should then be pretty vulnerable, and then Olive comes undercover to comfort her. See, that's another really cool and interesting way that you can handle her character. Again, I feel like a lot of problems in this show come from the fact that the writers were just unwilling to change the characters or have them develop in any meaningful way. And I can't decide if it's because they were scared of the characters being problematic, although I do think that's a big part of it. And I think a lot of it is just somebody in the comments referred to Sage as like a pet character, like the writer's pet, and I think that's the best way to think about it. Like, she's the writer's pet who is not allowed to change outside of what the creator, in this case Ray, wanted her to be. I cannot find the character sheet, and I'm taking too long trying to find it, so I'm actually just gonna stick to kind of a mesh between this and her beta design here. I know that she has like puffy pants in the other beta design of her, so I might try and merge them a little bit. Let's grab this, get my settings here, there we go. I wish they kept the long sleeved robe thing and floppy hat. It actually gives Sage character. Yeah, it's cute. I'm gonna have to look for it at some point, and much like the wand concept art that I had, I might just drop it into a community post to kind of show what I'm talking about, because I think of something while I'm streaming and I don't think of it before I start streaming, and then I don't want to waste time looking for it and waste everybody's time. You got lag? Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about the lag, guys. My computer froze up for a second. Here we go. I found it. Okay. This is the beta design that I really like because I think it's really cute. This one here. Is my audio cutting out or am I back, guys? Why is the screen so blurry? I don't know. Let me check my stream health. Sorry, Mike. It should be okay now. My stream cut out. My computer froze up for a second there. It does that sometimes. It should be okay now. Just let me know. Let me know if it's fixed itself by now. Just keep me up to date on that, guys. It's fine, you can hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, my computer just froze up for a second there. I don't know why it does that. I think it's something to do with the graphics card, because it was perfectly fine, and then like last month, sometimes it'll hitch, and it'll only happen like once a day, maybe twice a day, where it'll do that, and then just go back to normal. So sorry about that, but anyway, this is the concept art I was talking about, because it's really cute. Look at this. She's not all in physical black, like, because this is all just the same color. There's nothing going on here. And here she's got the slight blue tank top here, she's got the puffy pants, she's got the high boots, and she's got the fingerless gloves. Even the cape, like, it all just flows a lot better. I don't know why her character design was reduced to a more I want to say conservative, but not in the political way, if you know what I mean. Like the what are they called? Not Mormons. What are they called? Amish. It looks kind of Amish in a way. Such a shame the design didn't end up being the final one. It's much cooler. Yeah, I don't know if they were thinking that maybe they were going to put her in that design in like a season 2, because they really thought they were going to get a season 2. Why, I don't know. It's another thing. I don't know why they just didn't make use of the season they were given. I don't know why. It's like you were given 12 episodes, 12 entire episodes to tell a story, and you just decided not to, and I don't understand why. You like using Japanese brushes on your Photoshop. This is actually Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint is a Japanese program. I think it's developed, it used to be called Manga Studio, then they changed the name to Clip Studio, and I believe it's what Toei uses in their animation. I think, I'm not sure, but I think so. But yes, this is actually a Japanese program. And because of that, it has a lot of downloadable Japanese assets. So that's kind of why there are so many Japanese tool sets and stuff. Like you can see, and usually the ones with the Japanese script are the ones that I've downloaded myself. And they're usually things like, they give me all kinds of textures and blending options, which the base does not have. That's why that is. Screen's still looking blurry, FYI. I can see okay, but everything has fuzz over it. Is that just you, Goofus, or are you, the rest of you also seeing the slight blur? Just let me know, so that I know if that's something I might need to reset my router for or something, because that happened last time as well. Let's make it like this. Oops, it's too small. There we go. Oops, that's too big. There we go. Break out the measuring tape. Those legs showing too much skin. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why they simply... Oh, I was saying, I wonder if maybe they thought they would start her off looking very conservative, and then they were going to improve her design in a hypothetical second season, because they thought they were going to get a second season. Like, they really thought, oh, we don't need to worry about that. We will absolutely get a second season. And so they held back on a lot of things, rather than use the opportunity they were given. I don't know, because they did the short hair thing with her, and she's always supposed to have had short hair, and they only introduced that at the end of season 1, which I can kind of forgive, because at least they introduced it. But I don't know if they just thought, oh, we'll make her outfit super boring for the entirety of the season that we have been paid for, and in the next season that we are absolutely sure will be given to us for no real reason, then we can introduce like a cooler outfit and stuff. Like, I don't really understand what their thinking was. You're also getting a blurry screen, Hellborn? Okay, Dark Frost says she is seeing it perfectly clear. So just try and refresh the stream and see if it helps. Hey, Sebastian. Let's turn this down. There we go. Turn this up. I think it's also frustrating. Oh, the blur is gone? Okay, thanks, Goofus. Hey, Tim. Growing up, did you play any of the Humongous Entertainment catalog? I actually did not. But I did play games that were very similar. We had the edutainment games for, like, I think it's Adiboo. I think that's what it is. And we had a lot of the Jumpstart preschool stuff and things like that. And way before the Humongous Entertainment games, there was actually a point-and-click game I really liked called Treasure... I want to say Treasure Planet, but that's not it. Treasure Cove. And I used to play that game quite a lot. So we didn't have the Humongous Entertainment games, but we kind of had the precursors to it. And kind of things that were in the same vein, but not Humongous themselves. Which is a shame, because I think I really would have liked the Humongous Entertainment games. Like, they seem really up my alley in terms of the other things I played as a child around that time. But no, I didn't play them myself. Hey, Sebastian. You seeing it clear? Okay, thanks, Hunter. Having her cover up and then reveal more when she has more confidence is a good art. But at least make the conservative outfits nice looking. Yeah, that's another good point. Again, I am convinced that a lot of Sage was based on Kiki's delivery service, but like in a superficial way. And that's why they decided to give her a really unremarkable outfit. Because they're like, oh, well, Kiki wears kind of a black outfit. Not realizing that Kiki, despite her outfit being extremely subdued, it's very striking because she's not just wearing the black smock. She has this giant bright red ribbon in her hair, which kind of just contrasts the plainness of the smock in such a fantastic and clever way. And they just didn't think that far. I think they went as far as, oh, Kiki wears a black smock, and that's as far as they went. Hey, Zane. Treasure Planet is a good film. Yeah, Treasure Planet is so good. That's like one of the massive tragedies of the Disney company. Just for how big of a disaster that movie was in terms of when it came out and what it cost the company and how little money it made and all that. Off topic, I'm doing a dedication piece to Kevin Conroy. Oh no, is Kevin Conroy okay? Is there news I should know about? Let's do this. One sec, gonna set up my drawing tablet to see what I can draw with you. Okay, cool, go for it, yeah. See, I'm thinking if we give her an expression kind of like this. Do this. Wait, her iris, yeah, there we go. No, because then she looks kind of smarmy. You kind of want her looking down. That didn't work. Hold on. There we go. Kind of like that. Kevin Conroy passed away. Oh no! Oh no, that's terrible! That's so awful! Oh, that sucks! Okay, I'm gonna have to process that after the stream! Oh no, that's so sad! Ah, that sucks, that blows! How old was he? Because he was a little old, but he wasn't that old, was he? Been working on a drawing for my great aunt since her birthday was pretty recent. Oh, that's nice. See, there we go. And I'm gonna give her like, oops, I'm gonna give her like the anime thing where it's like, it's in shadow, like that. And then you're gonna have like the big hat. It'll look cool. With devil fangs. Now, I'm not gonna give her the fangs just because I think that might be a little overkill. I'm just gonna give her like the evil smirk and like emphasis it with the shadows. He was the greatest voice actor for Batman. He was. I'm like really upset about that. I'm like really upset. Here's a fun tidbit for you. 16 years ago, Pokemon had an educational website called the Pokemon Learning League. Really? I didn't know that. When? Okay, you said 16 years ago. Oh, jeez, I cannot math. How long was 16 years ago? Do I need to make her head a bit bigger? Yes, I do. Hey, Neon Flamingo. That's like upsetting about Kevin Conroy as well, because lots of people wanted him to play Batman on screen, right? Maybe not, you know, he can't be a Batman in a DC movie because I believe he was already quite old, so he couldn't be as physical as what that would call for. But people wanted him to have some kind of feature as a cameo or something, just something, right? And then I believe he got to play Batman in the Batwoman TV show where he played like an alternate universe Batman. But then the assholes at the Batwoman show decided to make him a villain. Like they finally have Kevin Conroy playing Batman on screen, and they make him play like an evil asshole. It was so insulting. Ugh. Like I said, I'll process Kevin Conroy after the stream. I might have to replay Arkham Asylum or something recently. I might have to replay Arkham Asylum this weekend or something. To be honest, I don't really understand why people compare Sage to Vice in High Guardian Spice versus RWBY comparisons. I know that some High Guardian Spice rewriters and Guardian HQ servers are using Evil Sage. Oh, nice. I am actually considering, I've never actually watched RWBY, and the reason why is because I never really liked the CG anime look. And part of it is because I am a 2D animator, so there is a bias there where it's like, ew, it's CG, that's not 2D. But the thing is, the reason why you're a 2D animator is because you prefer that look, right? It's an aesthetic that just appeals to me more. So I was thinking of maybe going through RWBY and doing a video series similar to High Guardian Spice, because I hear that it's not like a giant train wreck the way High Guardian Spice is. Oh wait, I made a mistake here. But it does have a lot of fertile ground for discussion in many ways, because there are a lot of missteps the creators made as well, and a lot of people are unhappy with how it's developed. So I thought me going in fresh and just coming in fresh and watching it fresh from the first, I think it's called, book, and going through it might be fun. So that's something I thought I might do. RWBY is just MMD battle anime that got felled because the creator died. Yeah, I would have to like mention Monty Ohm and things like that. But again, if I cover RWBY, I think I would do it in the same way I did High Guardian Spice, where I might mention the creators, but it's mostly discussing the quality of the product itself, not really the politics behind it, because I know there's a lot of politics involving the crunch they put their animators under. And apparently they're like, I heard like they screwed over a voice actor or something. Like there's a lot of drama behind the scenes as well, similar to High Guardian Spice, but in a different flavor. But I'm just kind of interested in the story, and not because I'm disinterested in the possible mishandling of its cost and like how it treats its workers, but simply because my interest is always in the quality of the product. And I feel that, similar to High Guardian Spice, people, because the labor disputes and how they handle their staff is such an important talking point, the discussion of how good the quality of the product is often gets lost in conversation. And it's because there's kind of more there's more important things to talk about. But it also means that that's a discussion that ends up not getting, made. Wait, I can't have her shoulder that high. If her hand is down here, I can't have her shoulder come up, because then she's gonna have like a massively long arm. Hold on. So it'll be like that. Okay, so her shoulder should be here. There we go, that's better. I think there's a way to make CG animation look appealing, as low budget as they are. Never watched RWBY. There is a way to make it appealing. We're seeing it a lot more these days. I know people have feelings about it, but I honestly think some of the most appealing 3D anime models I've seen actually come from Genshin Impact. I think that the character designs in Genshin Impact looked really good, like unironically so. Here we go. But yeah, it means that I never really looked into RWBY, so I missed out on all this drama going on. But it seems like it has similar problems to High Guardian Spice, in that there's a lot of people got lost in shipping wars, and there was mishandling of sermonizing things, and then the creators used RWBY to discuss what was it? Like the Black Lives Matter stuff and things when that came up, and they tried to voice things about that issue in their cartoon, and they made a complete, not mockery, but they kind of screwed the pooch in the whole thing. So, and the thing is, I'm not hearing this from people who dislike RWBY. I've been hearing this from people who were die-hard fans of RWBY, like people who have been following RWBY since it came out, who are now like really big detractors of it. And I always think, if your biggest critics are people who would ride or die fans of yours, that's kind of a problem. 3D anime can look good because of cell shading. Guilty Gear. Oh, Guilty Gear is another example. Yeah, Guilty Gear is another one that looks really good. Working on the coloring in my drawing. Oh, nice. To be honest, jeez, I cannot speak tonight. To be honest, I really like the initial designs of the main 4 girls, but I never really got into RWBY either. Yeah, I've never watched RWBY itself, but I've watched a lot of fans of RWBY who no longer like it discuss it and why they feel it's gone downhill. I've seen a lot of videos about that. I actually started watching a YouTuber called Unicorn of War, and they've kind of left RWBY behind these days, and they tend to talk mostly about the Winx Club, but they would really, really go into deep detail as to why they lost faith in RWBY, and that's kind of how I got onto their channel, and it's really fascinating to listen to, especially as a former fan. But that also brings up the topic of, as somebody who wasn't really a fan of the show and who's never really been a fan of the show, would I be able to bring something unique to the conversation? That's another thing worth thinking about. Arcane and Spider-Verse also have unique CG styles. Oh, that's another one. You guys, I still need to watch Into the Spider-Verse, and I know that's terrible, but I really need to watch that, and I don't have a reason for not watching it yet. I literally have no excuse for it. It's just something I haven't gotten to yet. There we go. Monty Ohm's death is what killed RWBY. I've heard lots of people say so. But at the same time, from what I can see, Monty Ohm's focus for RWBY was never truly on the writing. It was more, he wanted to animate cool fight scenes, which, I mean, that is a perfectly valid thing to want. It just seems like that was his focus. It wasn't really on creating complex character interactions or a complex world. He just kind of wanted cool fight scenes, right? That was his focus. My niece used to watch in the summer, but ended up dropping it after a character swore. She had a bad feeling about where it would go after that. Why is Sage so thick? I don't know. She just kind of came out that way. It's also kind of from a lower angle because she's looking down at us. Like she's looking down at us like this. And also because she's sitting. I think I made this curve the wrong way though. I think it should curve like this. There we go, that's better. Another thing I was thinking of doing, because I was watching Alice Mark's video where he ranked every single Disney movie of the animated movies, and I was thinking of doing something similar, like just as one video, not as a video series, because I've seen most of the Disney movies, but I haven't seen a lot of the newer ones, and I have so much random trivia in my head revolving around the Disney movies. Just like behind the scenes historical nonsense about a lot of those films. So I thought, like, if I just did a review of every single movie and like just spoke for about a paragraph about each one, that might also be something fun to talk about. And because I'm still trying to grow my channel, I think that might also bring in a good number of eyes, because, you know, people are always interested in hearing about Disney. Smug Sage makes me re-enrage. I'm so sorry. Look at that. It's her true calling, though. It's who she truly is. RWBY is a textbook case of how communication breakdowns can ruin an artistic vision. Really? Oh, thank you. Who did what? That was probably... it was a subscription. Thank you to whoever subscribed. Don't forget Death of a Creator. I can't tell if you're speaking about Monty Ohm or if you mean like in the actual definition of that. I imagine Redbud being an illusion of some sort, so the poison and its side effects would be fake. Does she have a heel? She does. Okay. I was going to say that's probably not smart because she has to do a lot of running around in heels, but the thing is, if she uses her broom a lot, that's probably not an issue. Okay, wait, I am not drawing these shoes correctly. There we go, that's better. This foot isn't the best shape, actually. I'm one of those people where I'm not... I've without too much trouble, but I cannot draw feet. I'm like Liefeld. It's a big weakness of mine where I just can't draw feet. Oh, you were responding to somebody, Lorenzo? Okay, I see. Hey, Thunderclap Clyde. Came in late. Wanted to say I really enjoyed the final part of High Guardian Spice series. Thank you. I was also thinking with the final part that if people don't feel like watching the rest of the series, that's a good one to watch just to kind of get a general idea of what the show is as a whole. Like if they don't feel like watching the other parts, they can kind of just watch the final part and see the final thoughts, and it gives them a good idea of what I have to say in the other videos. And then if they want to, they can go back and rewatch them, because in the supercuts, when I put them back to back, the series as a whole, it's just under 6 hours long. I think it's about 5 hours and 40 minutes. I can't draw feet, then half my patrons leave. No, I will learn to draw feet for the patrons. Don't you think Sage and Chloe Price would get along with each other? Maybe. I know who Chloe Price is, I just can't remember right now. Again, I'm terrible with names. To be fair, Liefeld can't draw anything. Oof. Oof. Oh, it's Tinus. Yes. You're not wrong. If Selena Kyle can jump across buildings wearing high heels. Yeah, that is true. Hey, Sode. Is it Sode? On the world building of High Guardian Spice, were the writers trying to do the Magitech trope? What the hell was up with the octopus make? I don't know. I really don't know. What did you miss? Not much. We are drawing Sage finally. I decided to draw her because I kept putting it off because I don't like her. But I decided to draw her in her true element. And I'm drawing her in her beta outfit rather than the outfit she wears, which kind of looks like... How would you describe that? It looks like an American pioneer almost. Is that like an accurate statement to make? It looks like one of not even like a witch of the Salem trials kind of thing, because you could do some cool outfit design with that. She looks like a pioneer wife, kind of, to me. Ew, Sage. Okay, do I give her her braid or do I give her her puffy hair that she has in the beta? Do I give her the braid and make it like flow like this? Or do I give her the big puffy hair on the sides like this? Sage and Olive would probably be villain besties if they took her. That could be really cool. And you know what? Now that you say that, that would make so much sense, because Sage is a witch and Olive is a black cat. It writes itself. Your videos got me to watch High Guardian Spice. It was not good, but it was fun too. So it's fun. It's in a so bad yet way. Yeah, it's like, it's an interesting thing to sit and watch. And it's kind of what I would try to get across in the final part video as well, is it's not like I used Annoying Orange as a visual during that part, and I do mean it, because there are shows that are just bad to watch and it's just a miserable experience watching them, and High Guardian Spice isn't that. Like, it's fun to rage at if you want to like get a whole bunch of people into one room together and watch it together and just like dunk on it because of how nonsensical it is. It's a lot of fun. Like, there's a lot of fun you can have with it. It looks like she's about to punch Shinji Ikari. Good. Give her the original hair. Cut messy hair. They obviously intended her to have that hair. Yeah, they did. I don't know why they gave her... Well, I know why they gave her the braid. If you saw Scamboli's video on High Guardian Spice, something he said reminded me of what you said regarding Snapdragon, that the diversity was the focus, not the content. That's why Snap is just trans. Yeah, no, that is true. And I think that's something I try to get across in my videos, but I try to do it in a way where I can't be mistaken for bashing it for being progressive in its representations. But it's just that the writing is bad. You can have no representation whatsoever and have bad writing, and you can have all the representation in the world and have bad writing, and the bad writing will probably be very similar. Give her the braid. Cut hair, messy hair. I don't really want to give her the messy hair because I like the function of the messy hair. It's like one of the things in the show that I'm actually quite a fan of, that they took the time to show her with like the messy cut. So I don't really want to use it because it has a function within the narrative. It was there because she cut her hair in a hurry, and I kind of really like that. I'm gonna try again. Why not both hairstyles? Kind of like the jellyfish. That's actually a good idea. Maybe we should, yeah. You know what? That might actually be a good idea. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so she has the hair here. Can we see her ears? No. What is it about Rodriguez? He really doesn't like his characters to have ears. Because Rosemary isn't allowed to have ears either. Give her... You know what? Yeah, let's do that. Let's actually give her both, because that's cool. Bold Sage Real. Make her bold. No! I've seen a buttload of anime with trans rip. 1000% better than High Guardian Spy. So Ray Rodriguez has no excuse. It's true. Like, it's genuinely true. I didn't even use it, but there are like multiple trans characters in Sailor Moon as well. I was thinking of using Sailor Starfighter's transformation once again, because it's a visual representation of transness that is so blatant and on the nose that you cannot dispute that that's what it is. I used Fisheye as a example in the actual video because in my opinion Fisheye is 100% trans. But Sailor Starfighter, when you see the transformation, there is absolutely no mistaking that's what it's supposed to be. But I ended up not using it just because the transformation takes a few seconds to actually go. And I really didn't have much time in the audio to fit in the full transformation. What is this fringe? Holy shit. What is this? I'm just going to use this fringe. This one makes no sense. Look at this. It goes down. It goes down like this. And then it goes in like that. And then this comes from the back. And then it's... What is going on here? Anyway. Sorry, I just... Okay, never mind. Sorry, I had a brief meltdown there. 10. Here we go. Oh wait, I'm on pen. Where's pencil? There we go. The character doesn't wear earrings or headphones. That's probably why they don't have... Yeah. I don't know if I'd call the senior Starlights trans, but 100% agree on Fisheye. Yeah, the Starlights are interesting. Because in the manga, and I know lots of people already know this. Hey, Guardian HQ. Can't stick around too long, but I thought I'd hang out while I can. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, these Starlights, in the manga, they are just women who dress up like men while they are in their civilian form. But they are women. They just dress like men. But because Ikuhara is Ikuhara, in the anime, they are women. But when they come to Earth, they take on the identity of men, like physically as well. It's very interesting. I know Ikuhara has like a wife. I don't know if he's still married. He had a wife at some stage. But there is no way that man is straight. Not to like out him or anything, but there is 0% chance that that man is straight. High Guardian Spites need more storyboard. Oh no! That is the one thing it does not need. It's personal pet peeve of mine when an artist try to make hair look fluffy, but they draw it like a huge blob. Yeah. How is this? Speaking of which... Okay, so it kind of curls in on itself. Kind of like this. There we go. So you can't really see where it curves in on itself, but it kind of does what my real hair does, where my real hair will ringlet itself back in on itself, so it just creates like a round curl, and you don't really see the point, like the end of it. That's kind of what her hair does like this, I think. There we go. And the braid, I am going to cheat. Oh, let me save before I lose all of this and have to start again. Add 500 storyboard artists. More. We need more storyboard artists. We need all the storyboard artists. All of them. I saw somebody somebody actually commented on the videos who worked on the show as a storyboard artist, and according to them, they were wondering if perhaps Ray had credited all the storyboard assistants as storyboard artists, and that might have been why. But if you look at the credits itself, there are also storyboard assistants that are credited as well as the storyboard artists. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. It's very strange. I am the show creator. One more storyboard artist rejected. You played Sailor Moon Another Story for the SNES? I have not yet. I have a copy of it, but I have not played it yet. I want to though. There are so many games I need to get to. I play games very slowly. I think I said this in an earlier stream where it took me, I think, 3 years to play all of Nier Automata. One artist per frame! Too many cooks spoil the broth. Yeah. Is that what I'm looking for? It's not what I have a better brush than this. Just want to see. I have a braid brush somewhere that's a lot nicer. Yeah, I don't like this one at all. Do I have it downloaded though? Ah, here it is. I think this is the one. Yes, much better. Okay. There we go. Is the pink source of shows? I have no idea because I'm not really on TikTok, so I heard there was some kerfuffle about pink source, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Like, I have no idea what the pink source is or what the issue is there or what's going on. It sounded like a mess. I'm back to the pen. I want the pencil. Thank you. There we go. And then we have to draw her scepter. Sage looks like she just got done cyberbullying someone. You know what? She probably has. So her staff is kind of the same. Do we have the staff here? No, we don't. Oh, she has like a thing on her hair. Hold on. Bring this down. There we go. Storyboards Artist Universe, yeah. Ew, custom made braid pins instead of drawing it yourself. Yeah. I am too lazy to draw the braid, quite frankly. But I'm going to adjust it a little bit because I don't like how it looks here. Hold on, let's just change that. Oops. You know what? It is a bit long. I'm actually going to redo it. Hold on. Delete that. Make a new one. Braid brush. I think we need bigger. It's a bit too thick. There we go. Okay, that's better. Sound like that would be annoying in combat. Sage is an amazingly designed character. Everyone else is plain or ugly, but her design somehow manages to be the plainest of the plain. She looks like a reject design for based RPG Maker. You know what? That's a good way to describe it. She does actually look very RPG Maker. Like the sprites you get with the program. Even then though, because a lot of like RPG Maker games used the default sprites and they almost have iconic designs, like almost, because I know The Witch's House, which is really good by the way, The Witch's House is like one of the best RPG Maker games that uses the default character sprites, and I forget the main character's name, but she kind of has an iconic design despite that. If you're looking for a video game with a trans representation, I really like Tell Me Way or Tell Me Why? You know, I'm not sure why, but I can see this version of Sage Broomstaff turning into a rattlesnake. That would be way too cool for this show. Okay, let's actually get to the stuff instead of faffing around. So it has a ball thing in the center. Oops, wrong one. And then it just kind of curves. I'm gonna do, you know what, I'm gonna use this. So does this. And then it does this. Here we go. Maybe I'll make this a bit bigger, just to balance it out a bit more. Okay. Hide that. New layer. Stale bread PNGs. Bland in a world composed of varying degrees of stale bread people. Like I said, I am convinced that they wanted her to look like... They were inspired by Kiki's delivery service, but they didn't understand why Kiki's character design is good. They kind of just saw, oh, Kiki wears a black smock, and they didn't, like, look at her design beyond that. High Guardian Spice should have gotten a person who is a professional character designer look after the art. Yeah. Or just like have a professional character designer as like a consultant. Tell me why from Don't Nod, the makers of Life is Strange. Oh, I am not a fan of Life is Strange though. Speaking of which, this is something I did want to say. When I was looking for Twitter screenshots for the last video, I finally found a screenshot of something Ray Rodriguez said that actually managed to make me angry. Like, nothing about this show has actually made me, like, physically angry. Nothing has really bothered me. But I found a screenshot, or I found a tweet by Ray Rodriguez that, like, made me physically violent because I was so angry. Let me see if I can find it. If I can't find it, I'll just tell you what it says and you'll have to take my word for it. Here. Okay, close the JPEGs, open the PNGs. Okay, this is JPEG. Where are the PNGs? Here we go. Screenshot. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Yes, it is. So I found this tweet by Ray, and I was angry. So if you're listening and you're not looking at the screen, it says, replaying Life is Strange and crying. I love Max and Chloe so much. I just want them to be happy. Now, if you have not played Life is Strange, I'm gonna spoil it for you. So just this is a heads up. Chloe is an awful character. She's basically Sage, but 100 times worse. She is an awful human being. She is manipulative, she throws tantrums, she disregards all the people around her, she throws tantrums when people don't pay attention to her. She is a really horrible person. There's actually a very good video on YouTube called Chloe Price, the Worst Best Friend. Awful character. And Max and Chloe they get into a relationship by the end of the game, right? But because of time travel shenanigans, there is a big hurricane that is going to hit the entire town where they live and kill everybody because Max did something to mess up the timeline at the start of the game. And what she did was she saved Chloe's life. And so at the end of the game, you have to make the decision whether you allow Chloe to get killed when she's supposed to and correct the timeline and save the entire town, or do you decide to ride off with Chloe into the sunset, into a lesbian relationship, and literally have everyone else in the town die? And they did nothing wrong. This is just a normal basic town where these people's families, their families live there, their parents live there. And you get given the choice to choose the lesbian romance and just ruining the timeline and just fucking up everything. and murdering an entire town of people so that you can have your lesbian romance. And it's supposed to be like the idea of the game is to give you this impossible decision. It's supposed to be a difficult decision. It's supposed to be something that rips your heart out when you make the choice. So for Ray to be like, oh, I love Max and Chloe, I just want them to be happy. It's like, what are you talking about? Did you miss the entire point of this game? It's a terrible game. Don't get me wrong. The game's writing is atrocious. But I was like, holy shit. Anyway, that is the first tweet that Ray Rodriguez has made that made me, like, honestly, like, physically angry. I became so enraged when I saw this. Like, there's, like, a lot of other tweets about a lot of important things he tweets, and a lot of things he said which I don't agree with, but I'm just like, okay, sure, whatever, it's a different opinion. But, like, this made me so angry. I was, like, physically raging. I was, like, screaming at my friend on Discord at how much I hated this opinion. Anyway, back to Sage. Anyway, back to chat. Noir says, Chloe is very up in front about it. Like, she literally says, use and abuse your powers. A good character would have told her to relax and maybe do something good with her powers. Not that. Yeah, like, Chloe is not subtle about the fact that she's a terrible person. Like, she's just a horrible person. Yeah. Anyway, calming down again. Oof. Like I said, there's a very good video on YouTube. I forget the creator. I know who he is. I'm just terrible with names. But the video is called Chloe Price, the Worst Best Friend. And that is a video really worth looking into. It's very similar kind of to what I'm trying to do with my videos, where he discusses why it's bad from a writing point of view. He's not really discussing why Chloe is bad from a moral point of view, because people's morality can shift slightly. People can have slight degrees of how much tolerance they have for certain morality. But he just talks about why it's bad writing, like why it's bad writing from a character point of view. And it's a really good video, and it really explains it in such a good and thorough way. Gonna drop a hot take. I think Chloe has better... No, she does. I actually do agree with you, Garden HQ. Chloe does have better writing than Sage. I can at least tell you a lot more about Chloe. Like, Chloe actually has... She's a terrible person, but she actually has layers to her. And unlike Sage, Chloe actually has, like, reasons for why she's terrible. Like, she has reasons that you could almost call justified for why she's so messed up. To do with her father and her stepfather, or about to be stepfather, all of those things. Like, all of it makes sense. Ulrich Salad Bar, thank you. Yeah, Ulrich Salad Bar's video is very good. Do you think someone on the High Guardian Spice staff was biased towards Sage Dragon, and sabotage Sage Mary? Doesn't make sense for Ray not to develop his fave ship. Sage Dragon has better development. I do actually think that. I just didn't want to make any assumptions in the video themselves because I don't have any evidence to that. But I have a suspicion that one of the writers on the show really liked Sage and Snapdragon together. And Ray obviously really... He ships Rosemary and Sage. And I think that was also a big problem because the writers had very conflicting ideas, even about the things that they cared about in the show, which was the ships. And they couldn't even agree on things to do with that because everybody kind of had a completely different idea of what they wanted to do with that aspect of it. I hate Life is Strange. Okay, well, what? Yeah, please do. It's a very good video. Even if you like Life is Strange, it's good to watch because it goes into character writing and character consistency, and also just kind of discusses how to write characters sympathetically, even when they're bad people. Because there's a way to do it and make you sympathize with bad people. It's shockingly easy to do that, but Life is Strange is not the one. Is Slimeboy in love with Rose? I don't think Slimeboy is in love with anything. I think Slimeboy just kind of stays in his lane and kind of chills out. and doesn't do much else. He's just kind of doing his own thing, not too worried about anything. Oh, bye, Guardian HQ. Thank you so much for stopping by. Shipping has damaged the vision of the show, honestly. It really does. And that's not even me being like, oh, shipping is bad. I don't like shipping. I just feel that it really distracted the writers. I think I can just picture in my head them sitting in the writing room and having like large discussions and arguments purely revolving around the ships and that, like, which characters should end up with which characters. And meanwhile, the main plot is dead in the water. Slimeboy is a stoner. You know what? He genuinely is. Like, that's not even a joke. I think that was kind of the idea they were going for. Unless your series is explicitly a romance, shipping should never be prioritized over the main plot. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I used Urusei Yatsura specifically as a thing that they could have done instead in terms of just doing a romantic comedy. Partly because I'm watching the original Urusei Yatsura for the first time and it's very good. But also because as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is something you can do. You can literally not have a big overarching plot and just play around with the relationships of your characters and kind of play around with how they interact and teasing. Are they going to get together? Oh no, they got into a big fight. Is the fight really that important? Did it really hurt anyone's feelings? Or are they just avoiding their emotions and things like that? There's a lot of stuff you can do there. You don't need the big plot. Just gonna grab some water because I was screaming about Life is Strange. Oh, sorry. I was reading something and I saw the chat message was actually responding to somebody else. So I started reading the message and I was like, oh wait, this isn't directed at me. Lumley and Vertigo by the BBC is a fine show. I keep hearing people talk about the BBC dub of the show, and I know there's a YouTube video because I think it got recommended to me once. I need to look into that because I'm somebody, I watch the subs more than anything. There's only 3 anime where I would watch the dubs over the subs. And it's not really snobbishness. What it is because obviously I'm not American. And I can't speak Japanese fluently, but I understand enough of it. So when I watch a dub and they say certain sentences where I'm like, well, that sentence is literally impossible to say in Japanese, I like disconnect from watching the show and I sit there for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what the original sentence was that was said. And then I'm like, oh shit, I've just missed like the entire conversation happening on screen because I got distracted by trying to like deconstruct what the language was originally. And on top of that, a lot of times dubs will just slightly change things. Not big story things, but they'll try and make it more approachable to an American English speaking audience. And I'm not American, so when I watch an anime in Japanese, there's already a layer of cultural distance there. But when you do an American dub of it, there's a double layer of cultural difference. Because now I'm watching a Japanese show filtered through an American perspective. So I kind of just watch subs because it puts me closer towards the source material. It's not really, oh, dubbers don't know what they're doing. It's nothing like that. It's a big complicated reason for why. But I'm also not against dubs because there are people who... I saw somebody on Samura the Shady website where you can stream anime who was saying that because they're dyslexic, they literally cannot watch subs. They have to watch dubs. And I forgot the reason why I was on that topic. I'm sure there was one. Definitely look up second Urusei Yatsura movie directed by Mamoru Oshii. I do actually have that because I love Mamoru Oshii's work. And yes, I know Ghost in the Shell is the big one, but I am in love with the work he did for the second Pet Labor movie. That is actually one of the 3 anime where that I will watch subbed. I will watch it dubbed into English before I watch it with subtitles. And that's because so much of the technical jargon is just too difficult to keep up with in subtitles. They discuss all these computer technicalities, which are just, it's too hard to try and figure out in sub form what they're talking about. It's much easier to watch the dub because you can just kind of keep up with it a little bit better. Anyway, that movie was directed by Mamoru Oshii. So, and I love that movie. I love that movie to death. So, sorry, did I say the second Pet Labor movie? I meant the first Pet Labor movie. I meant the second Urusei Yatsura movie, the first Pet Labor movie. Cowboy Bebop is a great dub. I watched the Cowboy Bebop anime in subs, but I watched the Cowboy Bebop movie as the dub because I find the movie is much more interesting in the dub. They add little jokes and little word plays and things like that, which add a lot of charm, which are just not present in the original Japanese language. There's a scene where they ask Faye, is she sure she's not feeling sick? Because it's about to buy a weapon and all that. And she answers, don't worry, if I feel anything, I'll be sure to share it with you. And it's really funny. It's a really clever little piece of wordplay, which just isn't present in the original Japanese language. And then, okay, so it's the Cowboy Bebop movie, it's the Pet Labor movie, and the other one that I watched dubbed instead of subbed is FLCL, Furikuri, because there is no way to keep up with the subtitles in Furikuri. It moves too fast. You cannot keep up with the subtitles. It moves too fast. And it just happens, luckily, to be one of the best dubs that has been done, in my opinion. That dub is so well done. For me, the only dubs I prefer over the subs is Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Samurai Champloo. I think I agree with you on Dragon Ball Z, but also because I think I'm a bigger fan of DBZ abridged than I am the actual Dragon Ball Z. So that's kind of a dub. I don't know why I like watching videos of multilingual in movie or show. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You might have to clarify for me. Cowboy Bebop and Rocksteady. What they did to Ed in the Netflix version is heart-wrenching. Turning Ed into a Nintendo game. Oh no. I didn't even watch the live action Cowboy Bebop. I was just like, nah. I've been burnt by live action American adaptations of anime too many times to even give this a chance. I'm sorry. I don't have that much time in my day. I watched Fairy Tail in dubs since I can't stand how Japanese pronounce Western names. You know what? That's fair. That I can understand. RIP to anyone who watches, what is it? Hero Academia? What is it? My Hero Academia. Where every single name of the towns, like all the towns and cities and things, are named after Star Wars locations. So if you're watching that subtitled, you have to deal with oh, thank you. I think that was a subscriber. Thank you. If you watch that with subtitles and not dubbed, you have to deal with Japanese pronunciations of Star Wars locations. If Team 4 Star made an official DBZ dub, I would watch the crap out of that. I think some of the Team 4 Star members did official dubbing for DBZ games. I think a lot of them actually have done official DBZ dub work since then. The Latino dub of Dragon Ball is much better than the English one, and the Japanese dub of DBZ sounds off because Goku sounds like a little kid. Yeah, that's a big problem of the original DBZ, because Dragon Ball had a female voice actor doing the voice of Kid Goku. And then in Dragon Ball Z, Goku is obviously an adult, but for some reason they decided to keep the original voice actress. So, it's a problem. So Sipa, I'm not sure I asked this, but what do you think of the 80s manga legend that is Fist of the North Star? I need to watch more of it. I think that it doesn't matter what I think when I finally watch/read it, because that franchise has made such an impact on so many other things that I truly love that I can't fault it. Even if I don't enjoy it, I cannot say anything negative about it, because if it wasn't for Fist of the North Star, Berserk wouldn't exist, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure wouldn't exist, Final Fantasy VII wouldn't exist. What else? There's a shit ton of things that I genuinely love that just would not exist if it wasn't for Fist of the North Star. So it doesn't matter if I end up liking it or not. It's like, oh well, even if I don't enjoy it, I need that to exist. It's one of those things. Romance-focused TV shows. There are very few that want to start the story out with characters already in a relationship. Why? If romance is the entire point, why not focus on the relationship and show it? The reason why is because, and I can only speak about this from an academic point of view, because obviously this is not something I personally can experience. People like seeing characters get together. They like seeing the initial attraction, and they like seeing characters that they know will get together work towards that end goal. And I don't know, I guess a weird way to describe it would be like, it's almost like a crime mystery where you know that you're going to find out who the murderer is. But you don't start off the mystery with, well, no, that's also wrong, because Columbo works that way. But regardless, even if you find out who the murderer is, or from the start, you watch a murder mystery to watch the detective figure it out. You don't start the murder mystery with the detective knowing who the murderer was, because that's not the story. The story is figuring it out. So I think romance is very much similar in that way, where it kind of, people are most often want to see the getting towards the end goal part of a relationship. And it's very rare that you actually see romance TV shows work from an established relationship. And when it is, it's usually a show that started off as a falling in love romance. And the only TV show I can think of that starts with an established relationship is ironically the Tangled TV show, because Rapunzel and Eugene are married at the start of the cartoon because of the movie. And they remain married. They're just married in the show. That's the only example I can think of. If Berserk and Final Fantasy VII wouldn't exist, we wouldn't have Edge from Mario and Rabbids. It's true. I still need to watch Vinny play the new Rabbids game. I did see the clip of him reacting to finding out that character's name is Edge, where I think he almost falls off the chair when her name comes up on screen. He either falls off the chair or he knocks over his mic, like when her name comes up on screen and it's just Edge. Kenshiro has same voice actor as Seabe Ryo of City Hunter. Really? Yes, I admit it's cute, but they drag it out to the point where I just don't care anymore. That was my problem with Ranma and a Half, where it was cute for the first 5 seasons, but at some point I was like, I cannot keep going like this. I can't keep on like this. You guys, you're gonna have to make a decision here, because I can't watch any more of this nonsense. But, like I said, I'm watching Urusei Yatsura, and I think the Will They Won't They romance works a lot better there, because Urusei Yatsura is almost written like a Greek tragedy. It's amazing. I think Berserk also inspired some Fire Emblem stuff. Yeah, I can believe that. That would make a lot of sense. Edge, like the pro racer? No, there is a character in the new Mario vs. Rabbids game, and she is like... She dresses in like, she's a rabbit, and she's dressed in like punk clothing and a leather jacket, and she's got a bunch of piercings, and she's got like the black emo hair with like colored streaks in it, and she's like super cool, and she shows up and she like kills a bunch of bad guys, and she does a pose, and she's all like super, like, how do I explain it? she looks like a Nickelback CD. Like, if you would imagine how would a Linkin Park songs look, she looks like that. And her name is Edge. They knew exactly what they were doing with that character. The Fist of the North Star Toei movie. Oh yeah, the music in the Fist of the North Star movie. I do know, I've heard some of those tracks. Yeah, it's really good. There's a track in the Fist of the North Star movie that sounds a lot like a song in the movie called Rad. It's just called Rad, R-A-D, which is about BMX biking. And the song is called Send Me an Angel. And there's a song in the Fist of the North Star movie that sounds a lot like that song. Got to go to work, but I hope to talk to you again soon about Magical Girl stuff, especially since I'm thinking of getting back into Sailor Moon. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, hit me up. I can talk about Sailor Moon literally endlessly. I actually start getting self-conscious about how much I bring up Sailor Moon in my videos. It's just because it's such a good comparison and I know a bunch of stuff about it, so it's such an easy thing to go to just to explain what I'm thinking or what I'm talking about. How tongue-in-cheek is it? Do you mean Fist of the North Star? I was talking to someone else, but yeah, both City Hunter and Fist of the North Star music are total bangers. City Hunter is interesting. I need to watch some of that. I am obsessed with some of the manga art for it. The art is so good. However, I'm not sure I'll like the anime because I'm not a big fan of the joke being that the main character is just horny all the time. Especially because I'm a massive Lupin the Third fan, and that's kind of Lupin's character, but he's got a lot more going on. That's not his only character. But it's difficult when Lupin inspired so many other anime characters like that, and a lot of the other anime characters are like being horny as their only personality, and it's kind of like, okay. Hey there, Prince King. Howdy there, Madam Puff. I made the Amaryllis pirate art you used in your... Oh, did you? Thanks for using my art. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love that image. I hope I credited you because a lot of the times when I showed all the Amaryllis art, because I'm showing it in a big bunch, I didn't want to like label a whole bunch of them with just a bunch of names. But I highly suggest people to go looking for that because that is actually one of my favorite pieces of fan art for Amaryllis I've found. It's so good, man. Thank you. Oh, thanks for dropping by, Prince King. I hope you don't mind me using it. But it was just so good. And I'm a big fan of that picture. I really am. And I love the big bandana that you gave her. It's a pirate outfit, but it's almost like a dress. It's really cool. Because it's feminine, but it's still a really cool pirate outfit. And it's got that slight edge to it. It's not like a ball gown, but it's got a lot of frills. It's really cool. It's really, really, really nice. I like it a lot. Pervy was Kaori with hammer to keep him in line. Yeah, that is true. They poke fun of how... Oh, no problem. Okay, thanks, Prince King. Maybe I'll tag you. Maybe I'll do that. I'll go into the video description of that episode and I'll just tag you in it. I'll at your... I think either your Twitter or if you want I can just at your YouTube name, but I think you posted that art on Twitter, so it might be better to just link you there. That might be a good idea. I want to get better at like crediting artists because I've had YouTube videos use my art and I don't mind. Like the Ponies at Dawn YouTube channel who posts music made by the Brony community. They've used some of my art as just images over the song. And they tend to link back, so even though they don't ask me for permission, I don't mind too much. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I really wanted it to scream Rich Pirate Queen. Hell yeah. It's really good. I love that image. Yeah, no worries. No, I do want to be somebody who actually like does my best to credit artists. I don't always get it right. But often sometimes because I try and find... It's very hard to find fan art of High Guardian Spice. It's really difficult. So sometimes I've had to go onto like Pinterest and things like that. And sometimes the source that the image on Pinterest comes from is lost. So I want to get better at it, but it is a little difficult sometimes. Your High Garden Spice videos did a great job on showing the potential of the show. Like, there's some solid ideas that could be great after some redrafting. Thank you. Yeah, the thing is as well, before the show came out, because I like magical girl shows a lot, I was aware of it, and I think I actually saw the trailer, but I can't remember, because I don't like watching trailers for things before they come out. I like watching the show on its own, because trailers can be very misleading, and sometimes they'll spoil major things. I would rather just watch the thing on its own. But I was aware of the show before it came out, and I was tentatively excited about it. But oh well. Hey, Creepy Cat. Yeah, I'm doing alright. Can always use Source Now or reverse search, I guess. Maybe. I'll have to look up what Source Now is. Kind of miss the manly anime of the 80s. Nowadays, it's just focused on teenagers and juveniles. Yeah, they're kind of... I need to think. I want to say they are manly anime, but the only one I can think of is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is also directly influenced by Fist of the North Star. Apologies if you get this a lot, but are you Australian? Can't quite place your accent. No, I am South African, but you are not too far off, because the Australian and South African and New Zealand accents are very, very close to each other. And I used to think, no, they're not. Our accents are completely different. And then I went to Canada for 2 years, and when I came home, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand why people get confused. I saw a piece of Pokemon fan art that I drew on Pinterest, but the post didn't credit me at all. I don't know what to do about that. Yeah, there's not much one can do, because it's difficult, because it's just Pinterest. Most of the time they'll credit where they got the image from, but sometimes the credit will just take you back to your Twitter dash, because they pinned it from their Twitter dash. So it doesn't actually link you anywhere, or it'll take you to like the entire hashtag on Tumblr, and it just won't be there. You thought I was British? No, I am South African. AFK, my laptop is getting low on charge, so I'm gonna take the chance to take a little break from drawing. Okay. Amaryllis barely has any real romantic connections, yet she's the best character. This proves that just one focused emotion, only romance for a character, is a bad idea. Yeah, I still think that she was supposed to be just a bully and not actually have that much going on. And because they liked her so much, they gave her more to do. But I don't actually have any evidence of that. But I'm doing the supercut, and in the one video for High Guardian Spice, I mentioned how... Oh, I'm gonna have to plug my phone in, hold on, because its battery is almost dying. Just plug this in. There we go. Put it there. So I said in one video that I was convinced that in the Rainy Day Memories episode, that when Amaryllis goes, why are you telling ghost stories in the middle of the day, and they have that punctuated by a thunder strike, I said that I was sure that it was supposed to take place during the daytime, and then they changed it to take place while it's raining later on, and they kind of had to cover up the mistake. And I said that I wasn't sure if it was just them not knowing how to write a joke, or if they had to change it later, and I was feeling gaslit by the show, whether I was being an asshole or whether I'm right. And then later, I found the background art for that specific episode. And guess what? That scene is drawn in broad daylight. So there are there's like one or two little things in the supercut where I want to add that. And again, I had a point to bringing that up. What was it? Let me just check the chat. I can't remember why I said that. Oh, I was saying because... my hunch was that they didn't intend for Amaryllis to be anything but a bully character, and then they ended up liking her, so they gave her more to do. Which is me making a pure assumption, but a lot of the pure assumptions I've made about the show ended up being exactly what happened, so... Okay, there we go. Oh wait, she doesn't have a neck! Ah! There we go. Now she has a neck. Okay. Lock the transparency. Bring a new layer. Save. Just put my phone where I can see it. Pinterest is a wild west of art. Yeah, it kind of is. However, I have been able to find cool things on Pinterest. I just kind of have to jump through a few rings to get there eventually. What did you miss? Not much. Just me plugging in my phone because its batteries are dying. Random question. But is your computer going to be alright when you do the supercut of the series? Because I recall you mentioning the hard drive was asking for death rendering part 5. It'll actually be fine because... the supercut is literally just the completed videos, and then I just cut them all together. Whereas part 5, I mean, I had the looping neon as the base layer, and then every single image is on the timeline. So there were 600 images edited into the video, and that's kind of why it was making my hard drive big for death. Whereas the supercut, it's literally like 6 files, maybe 7. So it's not a big deal. It's just like oh, okay, it's fine. Oopsie. I think I forgot to add something up here as well. So otherwise her face is going to turn blue. Yeah, there we go. Do that. Do this here. There we go. Lock transparency and hide sketch layer. There we go. Grab bucket. Snapdragon should be a dragon instead. I saw somebody comment that Snapdragon would be really, really, really cool if she was actually half mermaid and wasn't aware of it. And somebody else said it would be very interesting to use transspeciesism as a metaphor for being trans, rather than just making it a direct trans thing, like making it an analogy. And they were using time as an example, where they were saying, what if time, because she falls in love with a mermaid, starts feeling more comfortable underwater, and you can bring in her stoicism and things like that, and you can have an entire trans narrative about where you feel most comfortable. And I think those are both really cool ideas. There's so much you can do once you introduce the mermaids into the world setting, which they just didn't. Even if you don't do something drastic like that. Again, I will never forgive them for not giving us Snapdragon mermaid form. I just feel cheated. I really wanted that. I think Amaryllis' out of nowhere crushes on Leland and Hickory only exist to establish her as straight so people don't ship her with Snap after Snap's transition. Maybe. I don't know if Hickory is supposed to be a girl, because I saw some people on Twitter saying she is like a feisty lesbian, which would make sense for the kind of characters the show likes. However, I do think that the writers really, really, really don't want people to ship Amaryllis and Snapdragon together, which is very weird to me. I don't know why you have to dictate to your audience who they are allowed to ship with each other, but whatever. So it's entirely possible, but I also think they want Amaryllis to be like the cool, spunky little lesbian character as well. It doesn't matter though, because I tried my hardest to figure out who Hickory was, and apart from that one mention, that's not a character that exists. Just want to see her skin tone here. I'm going to grab the skin tone from this character sheet instead, just because it's not as yellow, so I like it a little bit more. Do you usually prefer metaphors or analogies for LGBT representation and others? Or do you prefer direct inserts, like just having a character be trans and such? It depends. It depends on the story, and it depends what story you are trying to tell. For instance, and this is a strange comparison, but I'm going to use it anyway. In The Lion King, you've got Timon and Pumbaa, right? And those two are extremely obviously supposed to be gay coded. There's just no way around that. It's this. Oops, my phone. They are supposed to be like a married couple, but you don't really see anything. You don't see any romantic interaction between them because that's not something anybody really wants to see involving Pumbaa. But I don't know, like, you could make it a little bit more obvious. And again, I really like the direct-to-video sequel, Lion King 1.5. And Lion King 1.5 really leans into the fact that this is a married couple. Like, they're not even subtle about it. So I would prefer if that was more clear. But there are other times where I feel like you can tell the same story through an analogy. But I do understand that there are a lot of people within the trans community who are tired of analogies, and they're tired of people just skirting around the issue. And they kind of just want people to come out and be like, yes, this is a trans character. So it depends, really. It depends on the story. It depends on what kind of story it is. And it depends on the world setting that it takes place in. And how does the existence of transsexuality work within the world building. For instance, in High Guardian Spice, where it kind of breaks the world building when you have characters who can just transmogrify their bodies into anything with no real effort, then it kind of breaks the existence of transsexuality and how it works in that setting. You're gonna have to rethink how you want being trans to work in that setting, which they just didn't do because they wanted a direct analogy. It's a difficult subject matter, and like I said, I think that it entirely depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell and what the setting is of your story and the way you want that story to work. And I guess Fisheye from Sailor Moon is a good example, because Fisheye, I can't decide if Fisheye from Sailor Moon is an analogy or just straightforward trans. Fisheye is such a bizarre character when you think about it. I can't tell you if that character is supposed to be an analogy for being trans, or if that character is just straight up trans. Hi, Guardian Herb. Somebody said Jafar was gay-coded, despite the fact that in Aladdin he wants Jasmine's hand in marriage. Jafar is gay-coded, but more in his mannerisms. It's not to do with his affections. It's to do in how he speaks, the physical way in which he's animated, and a lot of his inflections and his behavior. And that all ties into the... what's the word for it? The fop, that's the word. There is something within the language of cinema, and there's something within film history called the fop character, and it also ties into other things beyond filmmaking. It ties into professional wrestling. If you look into the history of professional wrestling, especially around the 1950s, there was a character called Gorgeous George, and Gorgeous George is a fop character. That is the entire idea. He was a heel that the audience was supposed to boo. And he would come on and he would spray perfume on the mats, and he would have perfectly coiffed hair, and he would wear like a cloak, and he would look down on the audience, and you were supposed to boo him. And then the rough and tumble all-American man wrestlers would punch him and beat him. And the whole idea was people would pay a lot of money to see Gorgeous George get punched in the mouth. And that's because it was 1950s America, and that ties into the economical situation that post-war America was going through. And that was kind of the fop character. And that is what Jafar is. Jafar is a throwback to the fop character as it was used as a villain. The unfortunate part is that it was done in 1992, where the fop character was kind of outdated by that stage. Sorry, just grabbing some water. Okay, her eyes are purple in her beta design, but they're more reddish here. I was going to ask which one we should do, and I kind of just answered my own question because I realized if she's going to be evil, we want her to have slightly redder eyes. Sorry, I was about to ask you guys which one you think we should use, and then I answered my question before I finished the sentence. And we need some of this. The other thing about the fop character within Disney history is the Fop character only really became popular within Disney media in like the 90s, where the Fop villain became very popular, and that was following The Little Mermaid. And it was because Ursula is based off of the drag queen Divine, who was the main character in the movie Pink Flamingos. Now the thing is, The Little Mermaid is a queer story because a lot of queer creators worked on The Little Mermaid, and that's why when people complain, oh, The Little Mermaid, she doesn't do anything, she doesn't go through any change, she basically wants to be with Prince Eric, and everybody tells her no, she's not allowed to, and then at the end she gets to be with Prince Eric, not Prince Derek. And it's like, yes, because it's a gay story. It's a queer story. It's the story of wanting to love somebody that your parents disapprove of, that come from a different world than you. And Ursula is designed after the drag queen Divine, and that kind of established this idea of the Fop villain within Disney media. However, following The Little Mermaid, the people that went on afterwards to make Disney movies kind of missed the point, and the Disney movies following that kind of became a lot more traditional in terms of the romance and such. So the Fop villain came back as a negative stereotype rather than being part of a larger queer story. Rosemary and Thyme should be more published too, due to what they're named after, I think. Purplish. Sorry, why did I read that as published? I saw somebody actually do a redesign of all the characters, basing them off of their respective herbs, and it looks really cool. Ursula's voice actress sadly died. Oh, that's sad to hear. Also, I guess it would be way too depressing if they stuck to the original story of The Little Mermaid. Yeah, there is an anime version of the original story that's actually pretty good, but it's very depressing. I'm just checking her colors here, okay. So your color balance is just so much better in the beta design. Like, compare just how the colors echo each other and how it breaks up her silhouette just with the slightly lighter tank top, and especially the waistband that's the same color as her hair. It just flows together much better. I think they wanted to they were going, like I said, I think they wanted her in this design later on. But again, you were given 12 episodes. You should have done what you wanted to do in the opportunity you were given, because for all you know, you wouldn't be given another opportunity. It would be fine to kind of leave crumbs for future development and not close everything off so that you can't develop it any further. But you didn't develop any of it. Oops. Here we go. And I think her bow is just the same color as her hat, so. This thinks. There we go. Is the thing in her hair, it's her terrasphere, right? So, I don't know. I was going to ask, how does it work with her staff? But I think the staff turns into the terrasphere, and the terrasphere she keeps in her hair. I think that's how that works. Okay, there we go. Now we can do a little bit of shading, because I really want to give her the shadow of her eyes, like that anime thing that they do. Do they have a shadow for her here? Not really. I mean, they do, but let's see if it works. Yeah, it's not dark enough. I want it a little bit darker than that. There you go. Yes. See, Puff, I think the creators of High Guardian Spice made a mistake putting the eyebrows behind the bangs. It makes them seem a lot less expressive. Yeah, I do agree. I haven't given Sage very much eyebrows in this picture because her bangs are kind of in the way. But you'll see on the drawing I did of Rosemary, I actually gave her enough space to have her eyebrows because I just think it looks better. And that's part of the reason why. And Rosemary's design is kind of annoying in that way because Rosemary's design... Oops, this is pen, I want brush. Rosemary's design is that her bangs actually almost cover half of her eyes. Which doesn't help in terms of expressiveness either because they hide almost... Your eyes are the most expressive part of a character, right? And to hide half of it behind bangs is just so counterintuitive. There's so much about the character designs and the show and everything where I'm like, but why did you do it this way? I don't understand. It's not even that I'm angry about it. I genuinely don't understand the thinking behind it. I don't understand what your thought pattern was. I don't understand how you got to this conclusion. Alright. There we go. Pen marker. Small marker. There we go. Coloring takes a lot out of you. Is that a joke about me, or are you coloring something yourself? I think it's more like the pterosphere turns into a staff, but it was connected to her hairpiece. I'm not good at explaining things. It's sort of like taking off a cap or something. Okay, I think I understand what you mean. I was just suddenly very confused there. I was like, wait a minute, does this actually make sense and I'm just not understanding, or is this as confusing as it seems? But I think I'm just not fully understanding how it works. I think it's the same as Amaryllis's wand, where it's a bracelet and then it turns into a wand. It's just, I think why it's tripping me up is because I think it's very difficult to grab hold of your braid and then pull the pterosphere off and then have the pterosphere turn into a broom or staff or whatever it is. It just seems very cumbersome. It doesn't flow naturally. Like, bracelet into wand flows so naturally. It makes so much sense. You get it. You don't need to think about it too much. You're like, oh, okay, I understand. Whereas hair ornament turns into staff. It just seems a little bit muddled. If they had made it so that all pterospheres were bracelets, like, even that might make a little bit more sense, because a pterosphere, even if it's like a ready-made spell or something, you want it close at hand so that you can actually use it. So to have it in your hair where it's behind you, so you have to reach back and then grab your hair, pull the pterosphere off, and then have the pterosphere turn into whatever item it is you want to use. It's very encumbersome. I was like making the motions with my hands as I was talking through that. I'm like reaching behind my back as I'm speaking. I'm just trying to understand. Do this. I'm just gonna check my battery on my phone. Is it okay enough to put it back? Not really. Ugh. Okay, so I'm gonna have to keep switching windows to talk to you guys. Sorry if there's a bit of a delay between when I speak and when I read your message. Honestly, I would have liked it if Sage was a villain or something. I swear, in all of my ideas and alternate designs, she ends up antagonist or villainous at some point. It's like she's cursed. It's because it's very interesting. Like, it would make for a very interesting character turn. And I think the concept of a... We talk a lot about character... What's the word? Like there's character development, but one thing you don't see a lot of in media is character regression, where a character gets worse as the narrative goes on, opposed to growing and becoming stronger and deeper and stuff. You get character regression, where a character just becomes a worse and worse person as the story goes along, and it's usually in the form of a villain, but it makes for some really interesting character writing. And I think Sage could actually be a very good example of that, of taking a character and having them become worse as the story goes along, which is kind of what she already does, and have her develop into just an awful person. And it's not because I hate her, I just think that's honestly an interesting story. Kind of like what we got with Catra, if they had actually decided to deliver on the development they gave Catra. But like I said, that's a discussion that at some point I'll make like an angry rant video, and I'll call it like unpopular opinion or something, and I'll just talk about how I feel they botched Catra's story arc in the final season. Because I love She-Ra up until the final season. Like, I really hate the final season of She-Ra, but everything before the final season I really like. I'm a big fan of everything before season 5 or 4 or whichever it is. Oh, you know what else we can give her? We can do this. This would be cool. Do this. Is this red? I think so. There we go. And we'll just do this. And we'll do... Oops, no, I don't want to do it. There we go. There we go. And I'll just give some depth to her hair, because I like giving the hair a little bit of extra. Catra She-Ra 2018 as a villain was great, not so much as a love interest. I feel that Catra's thing is, Catra is interesting because every single bad thing that happens to her throughout the show is her own fault. And what happens is that you have Adora and several other characters, but especially Adora, constantly giving her opportunities to get out of her bad situation, to better herself, to get to a better place. And at every single time that that option is given to her, she smacks it away out of pride or pettiness or whatever it is. She will throw away people trying to help her. And as a result, she ends up in a worse position of her own making. However, instead of understanding that it was due to her own decisions, she blames the people who tried to give her an option to get out of it. And it just gets worse and worse as the show goes on, in a good way, where you see her character just completely fall apart as the show goes on. And it's really interesting, and it's really well done. And she was honestly one of my favorite villains that I've ever seen in the show, just because I thought it was interesting to have a villain where you can see clearer than a lot of other shows that everything bad happening is because of themselves. And it was, I don't know, it's very interesting. And that might be a video worth talking about. It might be a video, and I could title it something like Catra, the best and worst villain of all time, or something like that. Like a really catchy video title that might pique people's interest. Because I dislike that the final season of She-Ra just completely and utterly stole its finale from Utina. Like, they just completely, like, lifted that wholesale. However, that's not the only reason why I dislike the final season. There's a lot of writing mistakes. Not even mistakes, that's the wrong thing, because it seems like it's a school thing where you've got an answer wrong. There are decisions they made in the story that are some of the worst decisions you could possibly make. Up to and including taking one of the most heinous characters in the figure of, I forget her name, but the character who basically raised Catra and Adora and essentially set them against each other, so and like emotionally abused Catra her whole life by constantly comparing her to Adora and saying, oh, you suck and look how cool Adora is, to try and make Catra push herself to be more vicious and more useful to this character. And then in the finale they made it so that horrible abusive character was like, I only did it because I loved you, and you're supposed to feel sorry for her when she like sacrifices her life. And I'm like, what the shit is this? It's very strange. It's like they had a completely different writer come in for the last season of She-Ra. They just completely broke everything in the show. What are your plans for future vids? I have a few. I want to talk about Bee and Puppy Cat. I want to watch it and see if there's something worth talking about there. But what I was actually thinking is I want to do like a ranking every Disney movie where I'm like, kind of like what Alice Mark did. However, I have all this like background knowledge and history about every single Disney movie, where I can just give some quick information that I think is interesting about it, such as just the whole debacle behind Snow White and how the animation strike following Snow White affected Pinocchio and things like that. That's one thing. The other thing I was thinking is I might do a video series on Winx Club. And the reason why is because Winx Club keeps coming up in my videos as a subject matter. And I watched the first season of Winx Club when I was 11 years old. So I have not seen the show since then. And I haven't kept up with it. I haven't looked into it that much. I've only used some of the transformation sequences in my videos because I like the transformation sequences a lot. And I think that might be interesting to come into that fresh and talk about each season as its own video. Not like High Guardian Spice where I cut it down into episode by episode breakdown. But watching an entire season and doing like a long video discussing the season as a whole. And I think they're like 9 seasons or something. That's one thing I can do. The other thing I can do that I'm thinking is RWBY. Again, because I've never watched RWBY, that might also be something worth talking about. And then I still want to do a video on the road to El Dorado because I really love that movie and I want to talk about how much how historically accurate that movie is, which is shocking. It is absolutely amazing how much historical accuracy was pumped into Road to El Dorado. It is insane how much details in that film. But I understand that that's kind of more of a pet project because I really love history. I'm a big fan of history. So that would be more for me and it might not get as many eyes. So I was thinking like the Disney stuff because people like Disney. They like seeing people talk about Disney and people like lists. People like top 10 lists and things like that. So that might be fun to watch. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. And I know people like Winx Club as well. That's another thing where people enjoy coming for Winx Club and just seeing what people have to say about it. And as somebody who's watched the first season when I was 11, and so I don't really have much knowledge about it coming into it, that might make it fun for people who really enjoy the show to watch. Because from what I've seen, I think I could have something positive to say about Winx Club, at least for the start of it. Because I think it goes off the rails a little bit later, but I just think that might be something people would be interested in seeing. Do this. Oops. Want the brush. Here we go. And do this. Because there are things I would like to talk about, but I feel they're very niche subjects. So I can do videos about them, but I think if I want my channel to grow at a good pace, it might be in my interest to focus on more widespread subjects, like I said, like Disney movies, because it's something I am interested in. It's not that I'm doing something I'm not interested in. But I know people like lists and I know people like Disney. So that's a good way to try and get some eyes on the channel. Rather than me, say, making a video about the Water Babies movie, which I want to do, but I don't think if I were to see a small channel talk about an obscure movie, that would be something I would click on. At least not yet. I would have to kind of get to know the channel a little bit more before I decide to watch something like that. So, talking about more broad subjects would be a good move. And I'm the kind of person, I really enjoy long form videos because I like putting them on while I'm doing something else and just having the video play while I'm drawing or playing a video game or what have you. So having a good long video that's however long and talking about each Disney movie just very quickly is also fun because you don't have to pay too close attention. You can kind of have it going on in the background while you're doing something else. So I thought that could be a good one. And it wouldn't be like super in-depth or anything. It's just a paragraph or two. And the other reason why is... Oh, hold on, I've got something in my throat. And the other reason why is because one of the movies I would like to mention in a Disney ranking video is a Disney movie called Victory Through Air Power, which I actually have on DVD. And when people do like videos ranking Disney movies, they never include Victory Through Air Power. I don't know how many people are aware of the movie Victory Through Air Power. So just having the movie Victory Through Air Power on the ranking list would be kind of funny. It would just be funny to me. And it would make people go, what the hell is Victory Through Air Power? I'm like, it's a Disney movie. And I'm ranking the Disney movies. So I'm ranking where the Victory Through Air Power is better than Encanto. I actually want to keep that because I want to do some shading here. Oops, oops, no, not what I wanted. And blender, the painter blender. I'm gonna erase that a little bit. There we go. And I think I just want to give some texture to her rod. Don't quote me on that. And maybe give some shadow to the underside of her hat. And then I think we're done with her. I used to have a brush that had a wood texture to it, but I don't think I have it anymore. This one works quite well though. The others will be good. Oops. Give it a little bit of texture. There we go. And then we'll do the underside of the hats. And then I will go back to the chat because, like I said, my phone is charging. Because I did not think to charge it before this stream. Because that would be the intelligent thing to do. Blender. There we go. Oh, you know what else we can do? We can do this. Select that, inverse, new layer, overlay, something like that. There we go. Oops. And then I'm just going to crop her so we can have her on screen a little bit better. Crop, save, and there we go. I think that's good. Let me just turn my tablet off. There we go. And now I'm going to switch back to chat. Okay, hey guys. I know Sage is Asian, but from country exactly? I don't know if any of the characters are specific ethnicities. I think that they went the Tumblr route where they kind of kept the ethnicities vague by just kind of playing around with skin tone, and that's it. Basically, they didn't really go to like exact. Sage in this picture, who cares if those orphans were sad? It feels good to be bad. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was going for. Because I haven't drawn Sage yet. I've drawn all of the other characters and I kept putting off Sage, and then I had the like galaxy brain thought of, what if I draw her as a villain? And here we are. Googling Victory Through Air Power. Yeah, it's a Disney movie. I'd love to see your take on the chaos of the gacha community. It's layer after layer of horror with a few layers of good content scattered in there. Oh, I don't think I'd be able to. Specifically because to get a good understanding, I would have to actually play some gacha games. And I don't really have the money, but also even if I didn't, I'm not very fast at playing games. So it would simply take too long to work through that kind of thing. I am faster at watching TV shows and movies. Oh, what was that? Oh, it's a subscriber. Thank you. I'm quicker at watching movies and TV shows than I am at finishing video games. So it would just kind of be a massive project that doesn't really make sense in terms of how much time I would have to invest into it versus the end result. Plus, there are some people who have made some very, very good videos. There's an amazing video on Genshin Impact. I should actually go find what it's called. I think it's about 2 hours long, and it's really good And the guy who made it wants to make, I think he may have already made it, an entire video about the gaming industry in China, and specifically from the Chinese gaming audience's perspective. So he played a lot of Genshin Impact, and that tied into, he made an entire video just about Genshin, and it's fascinating. It's really interesting. Still, ew, sage. Thick sage is best sage. Yeah, I think I'm a thighs person. Again, if you're new here, I am very, very, very ace. Like, I am really ace. So when I say things like, I think I'm a thigh person, but I'm not sure, that's why. It's like, I think I'm a thigh person? Question mark. I enjoy drawing thick thighs. That's about as far as it goes. I find it enjoyable. I like having the weights at the bottom of a figure. And even in anime that I watch, I like Zombieland Saga, but what drives me insane about Zombieland Saga is the distribution of volume in the characters, where they have really, really, really tiny hands and tiny feet, and they just look off balance all the time, and it drives me insane. I like that show, but oof, the character designs drive me crazy. It's not really about the games themselves, more about the community and the stories trends they make. But it's fine if you don't want to make anything about it. Yeah, I just feel like that's not really my area of expertise. I feel like that's somebody who has a lot of knowledge already, has to go into it and kind of discuss the drama going on there. And also, I kind of get very despondent when I see people arguing about the morality of how okay it is to draw certain characters. Not like a hardcore, hentai, but like people who, is it okay to draw a character holding hands? Like, literally, I'm not being funny when I say that. Is it okay to draw this character holding hands with this character? And like, what is the morality behind that? And it makes me very tired, and makes me genuinely upset. Because again, I'm from South Africa. We have a long history about oppression and censorship and things like that. So to see teenagers argue about that kind of thing in a community, it makes me very sad. And it's genuinely bad for my mental health. So I don't really want to venture into those areas. That's also kind of why I, when I did the last part of High Guardian Spice, and I got to the part where I said teenagers will get angry on Twitter because you didn't do character correctly, I went into some Twitter discussions regarding that kind of thing, and it's so bad. Like, the arguments and the fights and some of the honest heinous things people were saying, and there were people on the one side who were like screaming morality about fictional characters, and then you had people on the other side who were saying like horrific things about like underaged characters and what they want to do to them and things. It was just bad. It was all bad. Everything and everyone was bad. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not looking for screenshots, like combing through this mess to get an example of what I'm talking about. I'm bailing. I'm tapping out. I'm gonna make a joke about how insane Twitter is, because I cannot. Everything here is bad. Nobody is in the right here. Both sides are as bad as each other. It's horrible. That's because Twitter digs too deep into relationships. Like, they interpret any form of blushing as romance. Yeah, but that's not even Twitter. I mean, I've been on DeviantArt since 2003, and it's always been that way. Like, that's just a thing. It's always been that way. It's just part of fandom, kind of. Lewd hand-holding. Yes, exactly. I hate stereotypes, but they do say South Africans are thick too. Maybe. Let's say white population, even though, oh, thank you for the subscriber. The white population isn't just one culture. The white population also carved up into miniature cultures beyond that. But the white culture, you've got the English speakers who come from England, basically, and then a lot of the non-English speaking demographics, they come from it's countries that no longer exist, so it's a little hard. They come from France a lot. There's a lot of them from France, and a few of them from, what is the English words? I think it's the Netherlands. I don't know if Tinas is still in the chat. Tinas, if you're in the chat, who are the because it's not the Nederlanders. It's the it's also difficult because German, the Afrikaans word for German is Duits, and Dutch is Netherlands. So I get very confused. Anyway, a lot of European lineage there from Germanic countries. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Don't shatter your dreams. Why? Whose dreams, Noir? Whose dreams am I shattering? We were watching your childhood trauma vids. When you said English wasn't your first language, I immediately guessed Afrikaans. Yeah, Afrikaans is my first language. And also, we recently moved from Joburg to the coast. And if you're not from South Africa, Joburg is much more English speaking. And I've now moved south, where the majority spoken language is Afrikaans. English is not spoken very much here. So I kind of only speak English out loud when I'm doing these live streams. That's also true. Australia doesn't exist. I read that on IGN, so it must be true. Yeah, birds don't exist and Australia don't exist. It's true. The Boers were Dutch and French. Yeah, the Boers. See, the thing is, this is actually too big a topic for me to describe it. You had like the Catholics killing the Protestants in France, and then the Protestants ran to the Netherlands and said, hey, the French are killing us because we are, well, the Catholics are killing us because we're Protestant. And then the Netherlands said, okay, well, we've got this colony in South Africa. We will protect you from the Catholics if you agree to move to South Africa and farm for us. And the French Protestants said, okay. And then the Netherlands said, but you're not allowed speaking French in your church or at school. And because they didn't want a French culture growing in South Africa. And as a result, it kind of phased out the French language. So you've got lots of French descendants, but none of us speak French. That's how that works. It'll be long and messy for history. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But those are the cliff notes for it. Anyway, I think we should get back onto like actual topics of media, because I don't want to alienate people by going onto a rant to do with like French historical lineage, because I don't think people are here for that. If we insist on having a fantasy setting, why did it have to be a European setting? I don't know. That's also, it's difficult because you can kind of trace that back to Tolkien, where Tolkien set up this concept of fantasy being European in nature, and everybody kind of copies their notes from Tolkien. And the only one who really didn't was Ursula Le Guin, because she was badass and she did her own thing. So when Ursula Le Guin did the Earthsea series, she based it off of Native American culture and Taoism, like the religion. So the Earthsea books are based on Native American I guess culture and slight Asian culture. That's like the one fantasy setting that I can think of that just completely went, no, we're not doing Europe, we're doing a different setting, without it being like a selling point. I might have to do that in a future video where I talk, and I better define what I mean when I talk about selling points and like the pitch. I feel like sometimes people do things in stories so that they can market it and say, this is the hook, this is the pitch for what this is, rather than it being an organic part of the story itself. Euro setting was easy because Tolkien, Game of Thrones, and anime does a lot of Euro-based fantasy settings. Yeah, anime does a lot of fantasy-based European settings. I might have to look into why, because yes, Tolkien, but I feel like Dungeons and Dragons has a lot to do with that, because Final Fantasy in the 80s, that straight up took most of its inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons, and I think Dragon Quest took a lot from Dungeons and Dragons as well, and Record of Lodoss War, which is one of the early fantasy settings in anime, that was literally, you know how the Adventure Zone is a podcast and comic and such based on D&D games, and Critical Role, like the TV show and stuff, is also based on a bunch of D&D games. Record of Lodoss War is literally the creators' D&D games that they turned into a series of novels, which then got turned into an anime. So I think that might be why, but I might have to look into where did anime get the inspiration for the European fantasy setting? Like, what what was that pulled from? Because I don't think it was Lord of the Rings, because I don't think Lord of the Rings had a big impact in Japan, but Dungeons and Dragons did, so I think that might be why. It's a lazy way for writers to skip the initial world building and get to the things they are more interested in. Yeah, that's true as well. Pitch, isn't that just these are my OCs? No, pitch is when you can say what it is about your story and show that quote unquote makes it interesting. Like if I were to use an example, an anime I really like, we were just talking about fantasy settings. I really liked the first part of the anime is called That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, which I hate these light novel titles. But anyway, the slime anime. The pitch for that show is it's an isekai where the main hero character is reincarnated into a generic slime enemy and becomes the most powerful person in the world. Like, that's the pitch. It's not really the plot, but that's kind of where you say that to people and they go, oh, that sounds interesting, you know, and then you kind of learn the plot. And then the plot has more to do with what the story is about. The pitch is what you tell people to make the story and characters sound interesting. Tezuka did a lot of Western settings for his manga. If I recall, Japan was isolated to such a degree that when the world opened up, more post-war II, they engaged in doing European stories. Kind of. Because Japan's history with Europe, it opened up way before World War II. It opened up in the Meiji period in the 1800s. And I was going to talk about this actually. Somebody asked me what other videos am I planning on doing. I want to do a video on Rose of Versailles, because I feel people don't talk about Rose of Versailles enough. I own a American book written by a YouTuber called Anime Impact. And unfortunately, some of the entries were written by the fucking nostalgia critic, which I didn't know when I bought the book. And I was like, holy shit. Some of these chapters are written by Doug Walker. No, I can't believe I own this. Anyway, that book is about anime that had the most impact on the anime industry. And it doesn't include Rose of Versailles. And I'm like, are you joking? Are you joking? You make an entire book about the most important anime that impacted the genre and you leave out Rose of Versailles. But then I realized to explain Rose of Versailles, I would have to go all the way back to 1909 and talk about like the opening of borders to Japan and the like Japanese World State Fair that happened in England. And I would have to talk about the 1905 war with Russia. And I would have to talk about all these things before I actually get to Rose of Versailles. My historical fantasy magical setting story takes place in Sengoku period of Japan. See, that's cool. That's really interesting. Isekai titles are worse than porn movies. Some of them. There are good isekai. Maybe that's another video. See, in case you can't tell, I have ADHD, so excuse my brain splintering into 50 directions at once. That's another video I can do, is isekai that are actually good. Which that sounds like a derogatory title, but if you name a YouTube video that, people would click on that. People would be like, what do you mean isekai that are actually good? People would either be interested because they actually want to know, or they'll get angry because they feel you're insulting isekai and click on it because they want to see if they agree with what you say. And then I can bring up things like Magic Knight Rayearth, which is an isekai, Visions of Escaflowne, which is an amazing anime and is definitely an isekai. If you have not seen Visions of Escaflowne, do yourself a favor and watch that show. It is so good. And then I can kind of list a short video. And then I can list like That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I need to watch more of it because I've only seen the first season and I hated the way the first season ended because I felt like the writer didn't know what she wanted to do. And then I can just kind of talk about isekai, which don't fall into the trope of you are a gamer and you go into a fantasy world and all the girls fall in love with you. Like, because that's so boring. It's so boring. And like I said, I can talk about Visions of Escaflowne and That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime and Magic Rayearth, and I'm sure there are more, but those are the only three I can think of right now. Escaflowne is by the creator of Macross. Ah, that explains a lot. That explains so much. Yeah, Escaflowne is really good. Oh, 12 Kingdoms? Okay, I'll check out 12 Kingdoms as well. It could have been interesting if Sage found Olive on the street and rescued her, and then we could actually see Olive changing. Olive wanted to kill them, but because of Sage, she changed her mind. See, that's also interesting. See, again, guys, you're thinking of, like, interesting stories, and it's not what the writer... They didn't want interesting. Somebody had, like, a good point in the comment section, and I answered them with, stop asking questions that are perfectly reasonable. Oh, I see, I'm trying to do this, but this is actually locked. I just want to do this so that I'm on screen while I talk. There we go, there's me. Digimon Season 1 is the best isekai. You know what? You're actually right. That's also an isekai. But in most games, there are also extremely strong versions of the slime, as slimes as a concept have unlimited potential too. Some of the strongest enemies in Atelier are also puny. Yeah, see, the time I got reincarnated with a slime, I do actually recommend watching that, even though I feel the first season crashes and burns. I hope it improves in the second one, because it's fascinating. It's really interesting how they took the idea of an isekai, and they took this guy and turned him into a generic slime enemy, and just how, because he is a human being, he's able to manipulate how slimes work to essentially turn himself into one of the most powerful beings who have ever lived. It's really, really interesting. I just thought of something. Olive's a shapeshifter, yeah? Are they like a species? Is it a special type of magic? Is Olive some sort of sick, cruel experiment from the evil trio? That's a really good question. Because they didn't really think past the point of they like Tokyo Mew Mew and they wanted a magical cat girl. That's as far as they thought about it. But again, Tokyo Mew Mew has a reason for why she's a magical cat girl. There's a reason for that. And even Sailor Luna, who is a controversial character, there's a reason why she's a cat girl. Also, why isn't Mandrake animal-like too? I think he should have been an animal to match Olive. I am convinced that Mandrake exists because Double Trouble exists in She-Ra. And Double Trouble can shapeshift, and that's why Mandrake can. Like, I'm convinced that's why. Did you see... Didn't I say to make my abilities average in the next life? I have not seen that one. I have heard of it. I hate these light novel titles. They're so bad. But I have heard of that one. Bird Mandrake? Oh, see, that would be cool. That would be really interesting, because then you've got Olive as the cat girl, and then you've got Mandrake as the bird. No, because that would be interesting. It's true. I'm just going to scroll up through the chat. What is my time? I started at 8. It is now 10:17. We can go for about another 15 minutes. We'll just sit and chat. We'll just sit and chat for another 15 minutes, and then I will say goodnight for the night, because I like round numbers, and 10:30 would be nicer than 10:17. 12 Kingdoms is about the perspective of 3 female characters coming together. It's one of my favorite fantasy animes. Oh, okay. Is it the 12 Kingdoms like the Chinese warring states? Is it that? Or is it the 12 Kingdoms like a complete fantasy setting? Because I'm curious. It doesn't really change my opinion. I'm just curious whether it ties into like Chinese history or not. Or Rosemary loves dragon. What if they took the fact that Rose has to kill a sea dragon seriously? Ugh, there's so much they could have done. I saw somebody say that what if they kept up the Snapdragon Rosemary rivalry they set up in the early episodes, and so when Sage and Snapdragon start becoming like flirty with each other, Rosemary can actually have some involvement where she's upset about that because she and Snapdragon don't get along. And then because Sage and Amaryllis don't get along, you could have this entire conflict going on there. But again, they didn't do that. Oh, to have Mandrake turn into a chameleon? That would be cool though. That's why they didn't do it. It's because that would be cool. I actually love the start of Shield Hero. It starts like few isekai do, with the whole kingdom hating on him, and that was really interesting. But then he has super OP because protagonist and everyone loved him. Ah, okay. Yeah. Talk about the Wizard of Oz anime. The Wizard of Oz anime exists. I need to check if that's on YouTube. Fun fact, the entirety of Anne of the Green Gables, the anime, like the 70s anime made by Ghibli people before Ghibli was a studio, they made an anime version of Anne of the Green Gables, and the entire thing is on YouTube in HD quality with hard subs. If you are interested in that, that's on YouTube. You can just watch it. Does Full Metal Alchemist movie from the 2003 anime qualify as an isekai? I don't think so. I've only seen that once. I didn't like it at the time. That is a weird movie. That is a weird movie. Would you do a rewrite of your own? Would you want to work with anyone else on one? Make your own designs, post it as a comic or fanfic or something. I kind of want to know. I'm not very practiced. I want to stop saying I'm bad at character design. I am not very practiced in character design because it's something that I'm not immediately good at. And I've got that gifted child problem where if I'm not good at something, it's difficult for me to try and work to get better at it. I might do a fanfic. That might be something worth looking into. Like, because I know Unicorn of War did a lot of RWBY rewrites, and he's doing Winx rewrites, even of seasons he likes. But he's especially doing it for seasons he doesn't like. That might be worth looking into. I'll have a think about that. That might be fun. But again, I want to move on to some other things first, just because I want my entire channel to turn into a High Guardian Spice channel. But I want to talk about things that kind of tie into it. That's why I'm thinking like Winx Club or RWBY, things like that, because I think there's interesting discussions that can be had there. I'll probably mention High Guardian Spice in future videos though. What if Mandrake keeps morphing into different forms and then he just starts melting into a horrific collage of voices, faces? Just go full metal. That would be so cool. I would so be into that. That would be so awesome, for real. Which Oz anime are we talking about? There is a 1970s adaptation, or it might be early 80s, adaptation of the Wizard of Oz novels into anime form. It wasn't done by the Ghibli people before Ghibli, but because the Heidi anime in 1977 was so popular, there are a lot of anime of that time period after Heidi, which adapted a lot of Western novelizations. So there's Anne of the Green Gables, there's Little Women, there's Swiss Family Robinson. There's like a lot of Western novels that got turned into anime, and one of them is Wizard of Oz. Talk about the Dragon Quest anime. I haven't seen the Dragon Quest anime. You had the inverse of Gifted Child where you're dumb. No! Wait, if Mandrake was related to Olive in some way, like they were siblings or cousins. I saw a lot of people wondering if Mandrake was going to be Rosemary's brother, or if he is Rosemary's brother, because they look so similar. I kind of think that's just creative bankruptcy in the case of the show writers, but I think that would be an interesting idea. Like, Rosemary's mother, Lavender, for some or other reason joined the bad guys. I don't think they even have a reason for that. I am convinced they thought that would be a cool cliffhanger, and they haven't actually thought of reasons as to why she's joined the bad guys. They just thought it would be cool, and they haven't given it much thought beyond that. But it would be cool if, like, Lavender's son, Rosemary's brother, somehow gets roped into the whole thing. Again, you can like tie all these loose little ends that weren't used in any way, and you can tie them all together and make something actually really interesting there. Both RWBY and Winx Club videos ideas sound cool. I think so, especially Winx Club, because Winx Club is interesting because it starts off really good from what I hear, and then devolves into a burning trash fire. So I have the opportunity to talk about why it's really good, and then talk about why it's really bad, and like where it kind of falls apart. So I kind of have the best of both worlds, where I can really enjoy something, and then we can still kind of have the fun takedown of a bad property. Because I know people like watching that. I mean, I like watching things like that. It's no shade. I don't want to be a negative channel that only bitches about things, but it's interesting to talk about why things don't work. You know, and because Winx Club has both extremes, I think it could make for an interesting discussion. Maybe the Triumvirate could be like the Mafia instead of just big bunny guys. Like Olive and Mandrake work for them because they're like family to them. See, that would also be really cool. And you would have to be careful like how close you want to compare it to the Mafia. But the Mafia has an interesting rule where you cannot, what's the word? You cannot move up in rank in the Mafia if you are not from Italian descent. So if you're coming into the Mafia and you are Irish and you come from an Irish family, you can't move up in rank in the Mafia. So you can have something similar going on with the Triumvirate and like how Lavender is involved. And you can even bring the Guardians into it. Like, does being a Guardian have something to do with rank in the Triumvirate, whatever evil organization they are? Like, you can build things there. And again, you guys see, I am not a original writer by trade. I'm an animator, right? I work on the animation. I don't work on the writing side of things. You guys are just spitballing ideas, and even me, who is not a writer, can take a random comment in the chat and immediately think of ways to make it interesting. Like, it very often, it doesn't take that much like skill to hear something and go, oh, that's cool. How about we also add X, Y, and Z to make it more interesting? Again, Lavender being a twist villain is a symptom of High Guardian Spice not having a planned out plot. No, they didn't. They really didn't. They didn't have planned out characters, never mind plot. People are chosen by divine beasts, like Kirin, to rule one of the 12 kingdoms. Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. You're talking about 12 kingdoms. The main character was a child born in the fantasy world and was pulled into our world from a freak storm. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'll definitely check that out because I know 12 Kingdoms. I think that's an older anime. And by older, I mean 90s, not like the older stuff I watch, which is like from the early 70s. And I really like anime from that time period. So there's another anime I've been meaning to get into. This is nothing apropos of anything. This is just me spitballing. There is an anime, and I forget its English name, but its Japanese name translated means The Moon and Laika and Nosferatu. And the anime is about the space race between America and Russia, except it's 1956, and Russia has already done animal experimentation by sending Laika into space to test rockets, and now they want to do test runs using creatures which are closer to humans, so they can see how the human body would respond to space travel. So they kidnap a vampire from the Russian countryside and turn her into a cosmonaut. And the anime is about the cosmonaut space program, and the main character is a vampire. And it's like really apparently very detail focused on how the cosmonaut system worked. So that's an anime I need to watch as well. We can make High Guardian Spy Season 2 here. Oh yeah, we can. We just don't have the money. Rodriguez says they didn't have money. It didn't have a big budget, but I've seen some numbers of how much budget each episode had. And he may not have had a big budget, but he did have a budget. Somebody compared the budget of every episode of High Guardian Spice compared to a budget of an anime episode. And spoilers, High Guardian Spice had a bigger budget per episode than the average anime does. Mostly because the anime industry is in shambles and they don't pay people a living wage, but that's another topic for another day. We could make a whole channel and put every episode on YouTube and make a weird tiny animation studio of some sort. One show I really used to love as a high schooler was Star vs. the Forces of Evil. But after the second season, it just lost focus and had way too much shipping. I've heard that. I never got into Star vs. the Forces of Evil, but I've seen so many videos literally just titled Shipping Gone Wrong or How Shipping Destroyed Star. I think I've seen one of them, but it was a long time ago, so I might have to rewatch it and brush up on as to why that show fell apart. Vampire Cosmonaut one? Yeah, again, I forget what the English title is. The Japanese title is Tsuki to Laika to Nosferatu, which is the Moon and Laika and Nosferatu. Why does Cosmonaut just sound cooler than Astronaut? I don't know, but it's true. It just sounds cooler. Just keep the ad placements in good places and we'll be fine. Trinity Blood is the anime you were talking about. Who, me? Oh, I think you're talking to somebody else because I wasn't talking about... No, we're talking to me. It's not Trinity Blood, no. Trinity Blood is something else. This is, again, if you Google it, Tsukito Laikoto Nosferatu. See both YouTube universe. I have an idea. We should buy the rights to High Guardian Spice so we can make High Guardian Spice productions from guns to bodybuilders to even curry. That would cost a lot of money. Especially for like me, who my currency is in the absolute garbage. My currency is so bad when it comes to exchange rate. Yeah, shipping on Star got so awful that I got many warnings not to watch it. At first I wanted to, but got stopped by friends who watched it. Oh, really? Yeah. I don't want to watch Star, not because I would get angry at it. I think I don't want to watch Star because I feel like I would get upset because I'll really enjoy it, and then it'll start getting bad. And I just kind of know that everything I like about it will be in vain, and the show would kind of fall apart after a while. If you were going to make an anime, what would it be about? Oof, I would have to do some thinking. I had a concept many years ago of a magical girl anime where it's traditional magical girl setting, kind of like Precure, especially like Hotcatch Precure, where the Precures is almost like something that gets granted to somebody, but then the person it gets granted to is a boy. However, it still has like all the cutesy outfits and cutesy attack names and stuff. And I kind of had this idea of a magical girl show starring a boy. And he hates it because he's like 12 and it's like super girly and he's a typical 12-year-old boy and he's just like, what the fuck is this? But I never took it anywhere. And I kind of know that magical boy is a little bit of a difficult topic within the magical girl fandom because just because of the nature of magical girls. That's a whole topic and I don't want to talk about it in the last 2 minutes of a stream. But that was one idea I had a very long time ago. Hey Staria, I'm sorry you've just joined us as I'm closing up the chat, but thank you for checking in. I'm currently trying to make a webtoon that's a parody of Majoko anime. Okay, cool. And I'm going to be saying goodbye soon, so we have... If anybody's got like a burning question they want to ask before I say goodbye, now's the time to ask it. My throat did not die this time, I'm very glad. Maybe I'm getting a little bit better at talking for long periods of time, I hope so. Magical mermaid / Greek tragedy, that would be cool. There are actually a lot of Greek tragedy anime, especially from the 70s and early 80s. More manga than anime. Greek tragedy was a big popular topic for the Year 24 group. Like, the lesbians of the 70s loved Greek tragedy in their manga. Like, they loved that shit. Instead of magical girls, why not make them devil summoner girls? And that would be cool. You have like a magical girl and she's like, she still dresses cutesy and stuff, but she's like based off of Baphomet or something. It'd be kind of cool. I'm doing like God knows how many High Guardian Spice rewrites. Do it! I've seen such cool rewrites. People in the Reddit group, I'm not a part of the Reddit group, but obviously for the videos I've read through it, they are such good ideas there. Like, people are so creative. They got such cool ideas and things they come up with. It's really awesome. Modern Sonic or classic Sonic? Which is better? Oof. Oh, that's difficult because I like them both. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. Did you watch Moomin 1991? I did. I own them on DVD, actually. I've got all of them. Caught the end. Thanks for being so chill. Thank you for checking in. Sorry you had to catch it here at the end, but the stream will be up. You can watch it from the beginning. I don't delete streams. I always leave them up, so you can always watch them back. The streams are Patreon sponsored, but they are not hidden afterwards. They are... If you go to the channel, they've now split them, which I quite like. There's a video tab and then there's a live tab. And if you click on the live tab, all the VODs are there, so you can watch them whenever you want. Thoughts on Adventure Time? I really enjoyed it up until season 4, and then I kind of dropped off because I felt it was getting too serious for what I was looking into for a cartoon. However, knowing it's serious, I might rewatch it because now I know the direction it's going to take. And that's my hot take. You know, there is a tapas comic called Magical Boy about an MC born girl and inherited magical girl powers being forced by the mother to be all traditional pretty, but he gradually breaks out of it. Oh, that'd be interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna have to say goodnight because I also need to get some tea or something and settle down for the evening. So I'm going to say thank you for hanging out, guys. Thank you for joining the chat. And we shall, if the Patreon remains at the tier, I will see you guys next month. And we shall draw maybe High Guardian Space. Maybe we'll have to draw something new. I'll see how it goes. And in the meantime, I am sending out job applications for actual animation work, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to be working on videos because I've got a lot of free time at the moment. So I'm hoping to get something out for you guys. And next week will be the supercut for High Guardian Spice, and it's just under 6 hours, so if you need something to have as background noise while you work, that will be up for you guys. So thank you very much for hanging out. Thanks for joining the chat. Dark Frost says, Jamatane to you. And good night, guys. How does Streamlabs work? Here we go. So I do this, and I do this. And then I turn off the mic, and then I'll switch to goodbye music. Night, guys.
さりげなくタバコの横にあの人が置いた鍵気づかないふりをしながら思い出を語り合ったわ遅すぎる先では支えきれないさよならフラワーに刺さ